right, one more time. Good morning from your favorite 8 a.m. business strategy live stream, Easier Habits Live. I'm Alec, business growth consultant from Easier Habits.
And I am Meg. I am a global English communication coach and consultant.
So we've been following our misadventures in advertising, and basically the idea that if you're trying out a new anything, let alone multiple new things, right? New value proposition, new ad strategy, new audience, new new targeting or new platform, right? Because the audience could be in social media, or it could be how you're targeting within social media. You're doing it essentially diagnostically to figure out like what you need to learn, rather than trying to research it in theory and then come up with a perfect funnel and then find out that you're still pretty much starting from square one. Much better to get your funnel up live and then kind of poke at the weak points.
Yep, true. But before that, we will do a communication tip. So the communication point for today, I'm going back to the idea of kind of those nonverbal things. And I've talked a lot about the way that you modulate your voice and the ups and the downs and the quiet and the loud. Another thing that you can see I do a lot of are things like gestures and facial expressions. And I will actually separate those two things because they are different and can have different effects, even if they both use your body. But body language is something to think about when you do a lot of communication, and not with the idea that you must do your body language this way, but that each culture has a different way of expressing themselves physically, some more so than others. And it's important to know, based on your target audience and who you are as a person, right, what those types of gestures are going to convey. So for example, in Japan, it's very rude to point at people with your finger like that. You gesture with the whole hand. It's just a thing. And I have to remind myself not to point at people in Japan. And so as you are working on your communication skills, right, talking to big audiences, I personally love gestures. Like, I'm super dramatic and I will like fling my hands all over everywhere. And generally most people seem to not be turned off by that. So that's good. You see I do a lot of like thumbs up here and like big smiles and like, I'm super expressive because for me that's like putting in an emoji or something like that as far as expression. And I feel like it helps me communicate better how I'm feeling or whatever. But that might not be the case for you. So think about the ways that you're using your face, the ways that you're using your hands, and practice in front of a mirror, because you won't actually know necessarily what it looks like. I mean, you may have seen yourself on Zoom or something like that, but there is something about watching yourself in a mirror, or recording yourself and then watching it back later. So that's the other thing, to see how your face is working. Are you kind of, like a little bit like this, or you're looking down or something like that? Or are you looking like this and it's amazing? That's too much, right? So find that sweet spot for you where you feel authentic, right? And then maybe try it out with someone else as well. So it's good to do your own self-evaluation with your hand gestures and your facial features, but you still aren't going to really know the impact they have until you ask someone else. And so asking someone just to kind of pay attention to your facial features, not judging them, but just saying what meaning they are conveying. And that will help you to practice them and get to a place that's comfortable for you, and hopefully add one extra level to your communication.
Awesome. I never thought about it before, but yes, if you want to be very safe with your hands, all fingers together.
All fingers together, always.
It's when they separate they can get into trouble.
They really can.
All right. So, ad funnels. One of the things I've been working on is my new theory that a lot of people will be at least surprised by the fact that many startups break due to founder friction, and so that having another founder could even be more damaging to your company in the long run actually than helpful potentially. I have kind of a theory that like the companies that get really, really big are the ones that have two founders and have an unusual like synergy and collaboration, like an unusually effective collaboration between the founders. Which is why we kind of have this image like two heads are better than one, because if two people are working together, like, yeah, there are a lot of benefits, or multiple people working together, a lot of benefits of collaboration, but the risk of not having the same vision is so huge that a lot of companies never get to that size because all sorts of variables, varying levels of commitment, varying vision, varying communication and work styles, varying priorities, etc., are all things that can split people apart early. And so I have been betting on that is not only interesting to people, which at least from Facebook, I got plenty of clicks, some engagement, so it seems to be interesting, but that people potentially looking into getting a partner would be willing to act on that, because potentially if they go into a partnership relationship not really thinking only about the benefits but not the costs, then that could have a huge impact on their company. So that this is highly relevant to someone. Now, the challenge is finding those someones. And one of the hardest things with advertising, really, and sales, marketing, etc., is really targeting. Because if you're good at what you do and you can explain it clearly, then all you need is to be in front of someone who really needs that. And they'll probably buy it from you just from like proximity. There's a great example Alex Hormozy gives. I mean, what he talks about, this is market. Where if you're in a bull market or whatever, all you have to do is have the product, right? So if you have toilet paper before the pandemic, all you had to do is have it. It didn't have to be great toilet paper. You just had to have it in stock and you were going to sell out, right? And so like the market beats all. And what I guess I'm essentially saying is there's a corollary there, that is like someone out there, somewhere out there are people who really, really need what you have. The problem is it's hard to shrink your market enough to consist only or largely of exactly those people. And so Facebook, for example, I didn't get any clicks. I switched over to LinkedIn, recognized that there's some errors with my landing page when I flipped things over and had to fix those. But I am hoping that the LinkedIn atmosphere is going to have a lot more people for whom that's really relevant. And so instead of just targeting people at business pages, for example, on Facebook, I am targeting small businesses, people who are founders and not co-founders or partners, and seeing if this is relevant to them. If I could find somebody who's on the cusp of like, considering joining Y Combinator or something else, like there's probably even like that might, if they already have a company, they might have already decided they're solo or not solo. Maybe this has to be only people who have a company of one right now. And so they haven't grown it yet. So there's these little things where it's like, all right, if I can find somebody who's stuck in their business, really needs a business partner and doesn't want to give away equity, and can talk to them about their challenges, right? If I'm decent at what I do as a coach, then chances are they'll like the results they get from that conversation and want to have another conversation. The hard part is getting in front of them. So it's one of the hardest things. And it's one of the reasons why I play around a little bit with ads, but for a lot of it, it is just, can I find the right people? And if I can't find the right people, then I do have to change up my messaging. But that is the biggest challenge, and it may be something we should talk about today for what we're going to work on with your ads. Because we've talked a lot. I mean, we've talked about your user avatar, but it's one thing to like chart that out, and it's another thing to actually find
those
that.
people.
So
excuse me. So as far as the stuff that I've been working on, again, you guys have all seen like a little bit of a lack of focus. That's putting it nicely. I'm trying to, frame things nicely and, be positive about the struggles that I have with things, because they are real. And I'm learning, right? This is all a process. But also yesterday, kind of facing some hard truths that, and, I've been starting to do this, and that's part of the process of coaching, that, okay, I have an idea of what I want, but can't necessarily or haven't necessarily learned how to match my effort and my focus to reaching that goal, right? And so we talked a lot yesterday about just, what it's going to take for me to really get clients and to do this sales funnel and the time and devotion, etc. And so I sat down and kind of charted out, okay, so here is what I'm going to do for my actual sales funnel, and starting to set deadlines for myself of, all right, I'm going to have my video done by this day. I'm going to, have things put up, and making sure that I'm going through that process of figuring it all out so that it actually happens, rather than just, thinking about it and hoping that it happens. Yeah. And so again, talking a lot about that process. And so as I was going through yesterday, thinking like, okay, here are my main points. How are we going to find these people, right, that I want to talk to, which are basically, high level-ish, Japanese entrepreneurs or business people who want to expand their businesses globally, but can't break into the market because they can't tell their stories, right, in English. And they need that coaching to be able to get through. And so we've talked about the template that I'm making for that business pitch, and then how I can then build off of that, saying, hey, look, this is useful, but also I know your population, and I know how hard it is to go from template to implementation. And so if you need help, schedule a call with me, kind of a thing.
Well, and you want to sell the template as it solves a very specific problem. Yes. Like, you will get comfortable telling the story of your business in a way that is attractive to other people.
Yes.
But they're going to have questions.
Yeah. Which
a template can't answer for you. And that's why you want to be able to fluently answer those questions. You want to take coaching, or you're going to have to network with people to you find the right people to pitch. So here's how to start up conversations, or I can teach you as a coach how to start up conversations. So you give them a really good answer to a very specific problem, but chances are they have a whole string of problems, and then you present your coaching, your course, whatever, as the solution to the whole package of problems.
Yeah. And so in looking at where to target, my potential clients, right, we looked at LinkedIn yesterday as far as a potential, and Alec found some really great ways to specifically target groups and find out some information about those groups as well, which is really cool. Except that Japanese people aren't on LinkedIn as much. Some of them are, or more frequently what I've found, even the ones that are, just have a page. They don't actively participate in LinkedIn. They just have it because it's a thing you're supposed to have.
So one person that you found, for example, had their current job title and company, no description, no previous experience,
no image,
no education, no image, no nothing. But
I did find him.
You did, yeah. We did learn one piece of information, like his official title and the company he works at. I guess two pieces of information, right? But that's pretty sparse. So if they're really not there, you have to go where they are.
Exactly. And so in talking about where they are, this is something that started to happen a lot, is that people are reaching out to me on Facebook, to the point where, honestly, probably now at least half to potentially more than half of my Facebook friends, contacts, whatever, are not immediate friends and family. They are, Japanese contacts or other kind of business things, which then kind of poses an interesting question for me, because, again, in America, Facebook is mostly just like a personal thing, and it's very much a like millennial Gen X boomer thing these days, where we use it to keep in touch with our families and stuff like that. But because it is being used by my target audience for business and all of that, how do I need to pivot my Facebook page, right? And those of you who actually see me posting these updates know that I don't actually post much on Facebook at all these days, other than these videos, and then I'll occasionally get tagged for stuff that I do in Clubhouse. And so what do I need to do in order to maximize on the contacts that I have, and how do I make sure that I'm reaching them while not alienating my friends and family who are on there already? So just there's a thing, just so you know. That's where we're at.
All right. So how many Facebook friends do you have?
Now I have 1,100 plus. So, yes.
All right. How many people are, let's say 1,000 plus, how many of those are Japanese people who sought you out?
At least a couple hundred.
At least a couple hundred. And you can identify them, isolate them.
That's what I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I could. I mean, it's pretty easy to go through my stuff and say, okay, like, this is a Japanese person. This is not a Japanese person. That's easy. Mm-hmm. And then I can, look at those Japanese people. Do I actually know this person? Did I reach out to them? Or, did we connect over this thing? And, they reached out to me or something mm-hmm. like that. And because none of the ones who've reached out to me are necessarily asking for my services, they are sort of just connecting with me. And so it's like a warm lead. It's not completely cold because I just don't know if that's something that they need or want.
Well, and how have they heard of you to connect with you? So
what I'm thinking is happening is, and this is what I don't know, honestly. Yeah. So either they see me on Clubhouse and, hear me mm-hmm. and are like, oh, let's connect with her because she's cool, I guess. Or they are seeing that I am a friend recommendation based on who I'm friends with, right? People that mm-hmm. I've connected with that I know. And they're like, oh, she's interesting. I'm going to send her a friend request, right? Because we yeah. have, friends in yeah. common. So I'm not sure which one of those it is, but that's yeah. what I can think of. That's what I'm guessing.
I feel like if people are seeking you out, you're on better terms, like marketing to them. Just because, like, you didn't start that as a friendship. They're the ones that, like, were interested in you. And so you're mm-hmm. saying, like, well, what I do is coach people in... English language and specifically for business. Do you need that?
Yeah.
Right? Like asking them if they need what you do when they've added you
yeah.
without like any specific intent. Like I think that's pretty much fair game. And so one of the things to do would be identify some of those people and invite them either to a business page or directly ask them about this template mm-hmm. or like that would be a good market research opportunity. That'd be a great way to start out.
Yeah.
And that might immediately land in might immediately hit referrals because all of a sudden your circle of people is much larger, right?
Yeah, it's true. And that's one thing that I've always, I think, shied away from because of, I don't know, reasons. But, again, because my Facebook is also a connect with friends and family thing, mm-hmm. and I don't want to, spam my friends and family with my work stuff that isn't applicable to them. So then I have to decide, am I willing for it to show up in their feed, right? Or do I need to private message people that I want to target?
Yeah, exactly. You could private message, you can invite people to an event. Mm-hmm. And then personally you can invite people to a page, to like a page, et cetera, and you can personally select those people. So you absolutely, can and should target people who are interested in you enough to find you and add you. So that would be a great audience to start testing stuff out with.
Okay.
But again, because I am a big fan of just like being in motion and having something, getting the ads out there.
Yes, definitely.
To try something can also generate insights about your audience. So kind of do that first to get something out there and kind of break the ice. And then you can go back and kind of see like, all right, how many of these, like while you're waiting to see how many people go through the ad or where they get stuck more likely, then you can reach out to these people and treat them as guinea pigs. Ask them, hey, this is what I do. Are you interested? Would you like a how to pitch your business in English template, etc. Sign up here. So that's, obviously reaching out to people is not as scalable as ads, but it gives, if you have the opportunity to actually talk to people, then I can give you feedback.
Well, and the great thing is
you target with ads.
I can take the ad and use that with these other people. So it's that dual thing. I'm not, you
have something to share.
These aren't separate. These are like, oh, I'm making this ad that I'm going to put out there for other people, that I don't know. And then I can use that same one with the people that I do know. And one, probably get feedback on the efficacy of the ad, which is great. But also hopefully potentially get clients that way because they do already know me. And many of these people have experienced, or at least they know someone who has been in one of my classes. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I just remembered now that we talked about yesterday is the, I've been doing rooms in Clubhouse, just like quick little 20-minute lessons, and they have been getting recorded for the past couple of months, and I haven't actually done anything with them other than like they exist if people want to, on Clubhouse already want to go find them, but using those as an active tool, like posting and sharing those and saying, hey, if this is useful for you, and you would like some of this personalized stuff, then, set up a call. So there's some stuff that I don't even have to make an ad for. All I have to do is start sharing what already exists. And so, I don't know where I was going with that, but there's a lot of ways that I can reach out that I haven't been, either out of fear or just not really thinking about it. And so today is all about execution. And it's hard for me sometimes to keep myself accountable for all of the time because I get exhausted and I find ways to be like, oh, well, I'll just take a break for just a bit. Or, oh, this other thing came up. I have to deal with that first. But knowing that, okay, that's fine if that's the kind of person I want to be. That isn't the kind of person I want to be. I want to be someone who is bringing in money, right? My dream, right, is to have clients and to be able to travel for work, be able to bring enough money in for our whole family if need be, so that, you can focus on your creative pursuits and taking care of kids and house stuff, which you already do, but that you don't have that burden of doing all of those, the house and the work and the kids, because of all of the stuff that's going on. And so for me, that, again, facing that hard truth is saying, okay, well, if I want to be that person, then I have to be that person. I can't just hope that I'll be that person one day. And so it's been really great having this coaching relationship to start to really realize that, again, not that I didn't before, but that I was able to ignore it much more easily. And so,
well, you work crazy hard when you have a structured environment that demands a lot, and often I would say an unreasonable amount of you. And so, but the problem when you're an entrepreneur is you either have to create that structure for yourself or you have to supplement it somehow.
Yeah, and I struggle making that for myself. And so, I think a great first step was supplementing it with these kinds of coaching things. And looks like for some of this big execution, I might need a little bit more, of a help / accountability person. And so you're going to be helping me today as I go through doing my video and getting all of this stuff put together so that I have something to publish and we can get iterating on an ad and reaching these people rather than just thinking about someday reaching them.
Yeah. So I have a business tip also kind of related to this. It's like the global mindset, and one of the areas where a lot of, especially solopreneurs, consultant service providers get hung up, which is that if you build it, they will come mindset. Because there's kind of two mindsets. There's the people who, I really want to sell something. I may not even have something to sell, but I'm going to try and sell it. And these tend to be people who are very successful early entrepreneurs because they will, they will do really great MVP testing stuff and only build when there's demand for something that they have based on feedback that they actually have. So they move faster and spend a whole lot less time building stuff that nobody wants. And then there's the if you build it, they will come people who know they're good at something and have done it for people successfully before. They just don't know how to bring it to anyone.
Yeah.
And if you're in this mentality, you look at people who are salesy and you're like, oh, that's slimy, I don't want to be like that. But like half of that is just discomfort and not knowing how to connect to other people. Again, because if you were in front of a right person that needed your services and you just could talk to them about their needs, you would probably naturally sell them on it. What is difficult is you just don't know how to find them and start that conversation, and so you avoid it. And it kind of goes back to that thing I learned with doing handstands in high school, or I guess middle school, where almost everybody falls over forward towards their face. And because they are so afraid of falling over backwards, they actually never hit balance.
Yeah.
And what you have to do a lot of times when you want to grow in another area is push yourself to fall the other way, right? Just try and flip your default. So if you build it, they will come person, flip your default into trying to market and sell and like immerse yourself in that. Yeah. Stop building so much. And then, build only enough to keep up with the demand from people that you sold on something.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that means they basically dive into just marketing and selling.
Which is looking like what I'm going to be doing.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's where I need to be, and as, you know, uncomfortable as it does make me, it's nice to be able to distinguish between the discomfort of, you know, learning something new and the discomfort of like the marketing itself, right? Because, you know, again, I do believe in what I do, and I have seen its, you know, results, and I have seen it help a lot of people. And so I'm not trying to sell snake oil, right? And so, changing that mindset has been really, you know, helpful to get started. And now I need to keep going.
Yeah. And knowing that a lot of it is, I mean, there's a certain amount of like the right copy and whatnot, but a lot of it is finding the right people. If you find the right people, it's a hungry market, right? And that's the biggest challenge. There's all sorts of people. You can get your ads in front of thousands of people, but you actually don't need that. Right?
You just need it in front of the right people.
If you're a service provider and your full client roster is just 20 people, then you only need 20 people. The problem is finding the exact 20 people that are your dead audience. And so, you know, most people have a much larger audience and hope that some of those somehow
will convert,
you know, are the right audience. And that's the tricky thing. So really think through this, and an exercise that I will put up or attach, maybe this will be a business tip in a future one and a link, is the 16 avatar questions. And then taking that, because some of those are like, not only what problem do they have and what emotional, you know, pain point does this hit, but what are they doing before they run into that problem? What are they doing afterwards? What are other problems they have at the same time? And those are questions in particular that really help with thinking about how to target this audience, how to actually find the people that desperately need your services so that you could be the right person at the right time.
Yep. So let's do